Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am showing off the brand new release from Trinity Stamps. It's the Sunny Side Up release. There are 5 brand new stamp sets in this release, all for Easter. This is the all cracked up stamp set. It is a mini set with a cute gnome coming out of an egg. This is the Spring in My Step gnome holding his little bundle of eggs. And here is the gnome bunny. You can see he has no hands because there are 2 images you can place in front of him to look like he's holding an egg or a chick. And I will be using all of today's stamp sets to make cards. There are also 2 Slimline stamp sets in this release. This is the Slimline Bunnies. There are standalone images and a Slimline background stamp in these. Such cool stamp sets. And then this is the Slimline Chicks stamp set. It has a background of a bunch of chicks and then 2 standalone chicks you can use with it as well as images. So we're going to stamp all of these out and make a slimline card with each of these sets. There are also coordinating dies for all of the gnome stamp sets you'll see today. So there is a chick image in each of these gnome stamp sets to go with the gnome, which I completely love. And there are also sentiments to go with each of the gnomes. So cute. Okay, when I stamp out these slimline stamps, I'm going to stamp them in Versamark ink today, so you're not going to be able to see them when I stamp them. But trust me, they are stamped, and then in a minute you'll see why I used Versamark ink, and you'll see the image come to life. But you can see these fill up an entire slimline card front panel. They are about 8 1/4 by 3 1/4 inches. So now that I have stamped my images, I'm taking some pan pastels and going over the top of these stamped images, and the pan pastels will stick to that Versamark ink and color the paper around it as well for a really cool technique and a great background. So I'm doing orange pastels with the bunny. And then I'll bring in the chick stamp set and do yellow with this one. Now my sponge applicator there had a little bit of like blue on it or something. So I did get a dark smudge in the bottom right hand corner that I will fix in just a second. But I love this technique for backgrounds. It's just really fun to have the 2 different shades of yellow. It's darker where it sticks to the stamped image. So then I brought in my orange sponge that had some of the pastel still on it and went over the edges and kind of covered up that dark smudge and gave it a kind of an ombre look. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to spray that with my fixative spray to set the pastel so they don't smear, and then I'm going to splatter both of them with some metallic watercolor for a little bit of just fun. I love splatter on my backgrounds so much. So there's gold on the yellow one and kind of a rusty orange color on the other. Now I'm stamping out the images that I want to use to go with these backgrounds, and I will set to Copic coloring all of them, but I'm only showing you coloring for this one right here, the Spring in My Step stamp set, and I'm using pretty much the exact same colors on all my images today. I did bring in a little bit of green and a little bit of orange that I don't use on these images right here, but they're all on really small images, and so I didn't even do that much blending. And maybe on the carrot that the bunny's holding I did some blending, but on the small images, you can do really simple Copic coloring. So it's really fun to me to be able to do that and get my images colored quickly. So now I'm coloring in his beard with some grays, some N2 for my darkest, and then blending that out with N1 and N0. And here's what I'm talking about. Like with his boots, I used my E27 on the middle part of the boot, and then I'm accenting all around that with E29, my darkest color, and didn't do any ink blending. I'll do the same thing on this egg right here where I'm using my RV21 and my RV13, but not blending them, just using them side by side. And I love this look too with my Copic markers. But I will do some ink blending on this egg right here. Y17 is my darkest, and then I'm going to blend that out with Y15, leaving all the polka dots white. And I'll use these same colors on his shirt and the chick and the yellow butterfly. I'm using E21 for his skin, just one color, keeping it very simple, and then that will finish up these images and just needing some white highlights with my gel pen to finish them off. And I think this stamp set is so cute. I love that it has the supporting images and a sentiment, and there is a die for every single image in this set. And now we will set to making a card. So I have this wonky stitched slimline border that I die cut from some blue patterned paper from the Winter Hues set, and then I'll also cut a grassy border from one of those frames that I cut out from green, and then also this fence. The grass and the fence are both from the Great Outdoors slimline die set that I use all the time. I love this set. So I put the fence on so it would be just above the grass, so it's just tucked into the grass there, just like that. And then I'm going to set to adding on my stamped and die cut images. So I'm adding my biggest image first and then working down to my smaller images and kind of making almost like a little Easter parade here. And so most of the images are popped up, and then the little tiny dot I glued down right there. And then I'm going to add these clay Easter eggs in and around my little Easter parade. This is the very hard part to watch right here. I've lost my jewel picker. I don't know what happened. It sprouted legs and has exited the craft room, and I'm very sad about it. So now I am gluing that down to my 8.5 by 7 card base that I scored at 3.5 inches to complete my card. For card number 2, I'm doing pretty much the exact same thing with that wonky stitched border, my fence, and my grass, and I'm using paper from the All Heart collection for this card, and then I will add my images. I am popping up the little chick so it'll be in the gnome's hands. And then I'll just add that right to my card. And I love that you can change out what he's holding. And then I'm adding the sentiment, nobody loves you like I do, nobody. And tucking in the eggs in and around the scene. And here's the little flower that I added the green to. And then I'll add this to my card base. And that is my second card. For the third card, we have the All Cracked Up stamp set. This is the smallest of the 3 in this release, and it has a little chick sitting down that you can put right next to this gnome popping up out of his egg. I think it's so adorable. I am using striped paper this time from the Autumn Rainbow paper pack. These are all slimline paper packs, so they will work great for your slimline cards. And then I'm adding some more of those Easter egg clay elements. Now Trinity Stamps has a ton of new clay embellishments as well as sequins and confetti and baubles in their store, so make sure you check that out next time you're over there. And here are all 3 of my Easter gnome cards today. I love creating similar cards with different stamped images but repeating some of the same design elements. It really makes creating multiple cards go quickly. Now I had a scrap left over from each of the pattern paper pieces that I used for my background, so I thought I would add a strip of that on the inside. So here are all 3 of the cards again. I love how they turned out. These Easter gnomes are adorable. Now let's get back to my pen pastel backgrounds and create some shaker cards. So now I am cutting out my backgrounds with the slimline stitched rectangle, and then I'm adding a scalloped rectangle to go behind that, and then I'm bringing in lift the flap for a shaker window. So I will add a window sheet right behind that flap. That way when you open this, you'll see a little shaker on the inside. So to create my shaker, I need some foam tape all around that window, and I want to make sure that the ends touch. So my foam tape was a little bit wide, so I just stuck it down to a sheet of foam squares and then cut it down the middle to make it more narrow, and then I can make sure that my foam tape touches end to end where the shaker elements will be, so none of them can escape. And and that will create a nice reservoir for them. I'll add more foam tape around the edge, but don't need to worry about those touching on the ends. Just want to make sure I have support on the ends of this panel. So I added one of my bunnies to the middle, and that's going to be the image you see when you open this flap. Now I have this mix of clay elements. A lot of times when you order from Trinity Stamps, they'll send you a little freebie trial size pack of shaker bits, and this is one that I had received with one of my orders, so I just picked out the ones I wanted from that assortment and stuck them in there, and I realized I had my window on the wrong side, and so I had to double check that, otherwise my bunny would have been upside down. So phew, I'm so glad I caught that. So I peeled off the backing to my foam tape and stuck that bunny down so it'll be in the window, and you can see the fun little shaker when you open that flap. So cool. Next, I need to add some glue to this middle panel, peel off the backing to my foam tape, and add this to my scalloped background. This largest scallop is 8.5 by 3.5. Next, I'm adding some grass to the bottom here, just like I've done on the other 3 cards, but I needed to die cut it just a tiny bit with that flap so that it didn't interfere with that flap being able to open and close. I'm adding the other bunny with the carrot to the center and 2 sentiments from the stamp set on either side of the window, and then making sure that my flap opens really well. And then I die cut a couple hearts to add around my sentiments in some dark orange cardstock, and that will be the cardstock that I use for the card base for this card. The base had to be a little bit larger around this, so I cut it to 8 3/4 by 7.5 and scored it at 3 3/4 to finish off this shaker card. Isn't it cute? I love a little shaker window with a flap. Okay, next I am taking another of those stitched rectangles. I'm die cutting the smallest one this time, and then I die cut the largest from yellow cardstock and use that smallest one again to cut out a window. So this is going to be the frame for the outside of my card. I'm gluing a window sheet to the back of that because the entire front of this card will be a shaker. So gluing that in place. And then I'm adding some grass to what will be the background of this card. So I use this grassy border on all 5 of my cards today. But also from that Wonky die I used at the beginning of the video, there are these dies that create a sun and clouds and different things that you cut into the paper. It doesn't cut them out, but it creates a pressed in stitched image. I am using these flowers with smiley faces from that clay element assortment that I had. I thought it went well with the eggs. It kind of looks like a fried egg with a face, but they're flowers. So I added my frame around that, and now I have my shaker ready to go. I am gluing down my 2 little chicks and then my sentiments that say, "Chirp up, friend, turn sunny side up." I think that these stamp sets in this new release are so fun for spring and Easter, and having slimline stamps is so fun, and there's so many techniques you can do with those slimline stamps. I love them. These are brand new to a collection that's already been started at Trinity Stamps. So I will have all of these new products listed and linked for you in the description box below, as well as the slimline dies that I used. Trinity Stamps is my favorite place to get slimline dies. They have so many, and I use them really a lot in my card making. So I'll have those listed for you below as well. And I just thank you for coming by and letting me share this brand new mini release with you from Trinity Stamps. I will see you all again very soon in the next video. Happy stamping! Bye!